I know you're all
As a man, I'm flesh and blood. I can be ignored, I can be destroyed, but as a symbol, as a symbol, I can be incorruptible.
He gave us a signal.
Where are you?
Something elemental, something terrifying.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Cave Cast. I am Sammy Threepeat, and today we will be discussing Dick Grayson, the first Robin, arguably the most iconic in the role, and I couldn't do so without my wonderful panel of guys here. We might have some other people jumping in, but my two mainstays, obviously, we have to have Drunken, Emerald Arrow, and Iron Oxide. How are you guys doing today?
Awake, alert, and ready to talk about some Dick Grayson.
Yeah, I'm ready to get my dick on. Let's do it.
Yeah. Nothing like starting your morning out with a little dick.
Right.
So we can pop right into it. We have our wonderful thumbnail that we made here. I thought that was probably, when I think of Dick, I think of the original costume in the green little tighties, his acrobat uniform, and that's really all it was. You can argue, and people have brought this up for years and years and years, like why he dresses in those bright colors. And, Batman was basically like, well, they won't be shooting at me. And, no one's going to hit him because Dick Grayson is like an acrobatic prodigy, which we can get into right now. So he first appeared in Detective Comics 1938, which was in April of 1940. He is the original and most popular incarnation of Robin, Batman's crime-fighting partner, together known as the Dynamic Duo. So his origin story: he was an orphan son of master acrobats, the Flying Graysons, who was later adopted by Batman, his alter ego, Bruce Wayne. So they don't always get this right. They've never gotten it right in the movies, but yes, Dick Grayson is a child. Okay, he's not like a 21-year-old man like in Batman Forever. It would make sense that, and he also, like, he's a circus act, so he doesn't really have a strong. It makes sense for someone like Bruce Wayne to adopt him. In the comics it does, like, but in the movies it's usually like, oh, this person is quite old. I mean, it's unfortunate that he lost both his parents at once, but he's a full-grown man.
Right. I mean, when we get into the live action description of it, I think that is just one of the worst portrayals. I mean, it is the worst casting. It makes no sense, and it's I don't want to use it, but in this way, it's not exactly comic book accurate. The age, disposition, and everything of that version of Dick Grayson.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they haven't really been able to capture him in live action. And to be fair, Robin is a very difficult character.
Well, Burt Ward
generation
too bad.
Right.
Well, but also that
so far into it.
That show didn't really capture like what makes him the boy wonder. Like, there's a reason that, like, he would head teams like the Teen Titans and everything, is because, like, he's just like Batman in the aspect of he's about as far as, like, human physical potential gets. Like, he's incredibly athletic. So you have guys with actual superpowers. Yes, Justin Cook, thank you. Oh, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say hello to the wonderful chat. So Well, we got this guy. He's on the panel, but Warren Bly, thank you. My wonderful wife, Iron Oxide. He's also here. Justin Cook, always good to see you. Joker voice. I heard Robin. I heard Robin, and I got my crowbar ready. And then I heard it's Dick Grayson. Missed opportunity, I'd say. He, ha, ha, ha. Bat Sauce, thanks for coming in. Oh yes, and can he do Kung Fu Laundry? In some versions he can, and in some versions he's not hungry. And Alfred goes, "Pity, perhaps the dogs are hungry," and can never miss an opportunity to do one of my many Alfred impressions. So yes, what we were talking about, he is about as good as it gets as an acrobat, and as a crime fighter, he's not a good of detective as I would say, like someone like Tim Drake, who's probably the smartest of the Robins, but but I would say he's probably the most well-rounded of the Robins.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. He's got a lot of balance that makes him extremely formidable, because he's may not be the best at everything, but he's bad at absolutely nothing.
Yes, absolutely. He's the boy wonder. And I was debating. Oh, you're muted, Iron or Drunken.
Yeah, I realize that. No, I would agree. He's more of a jack of all trades. I mean, he's good at so many different things, well-rounded, but he's not an expert in anything specific. He's just a very level character that I don't want to mess with, because I mean, he's going to find your shortcomings.
Yeah, and you know, he's the one who spent the most time with Batman. So by the time he grows up into his own, he had a wonderful teacher, and pretty much everything that Batman has at his own disposal. So and that's something that every other Robin that we've had since has been lacking. I'd say maybe with you can argue that Damian Wayne, because now he has had him, Batman, and everything that Ra's and Talia al Ghul have at their disposal, everything that Bruce has at their disposal. So he and every subsequent Robin. He probably has the most potential, but he's also kind of a little turd. Which, don't get me wrong, I love Damian Wayne for different reasons, but out of all of them, I was reluctant on calling this episode Boy Wonder, but he really is the first true Boy Wonder. When you say Boy Wonder, you think of Dick Grayson's Robin. I don't think anybody else has really even called that. He is definitely the genuine article, and rightfully so. Selena, thank you for popping in, supporting your hubby. Wow, we got two wives in the chat.
Yeah, you guys better behave yourselves.
I was gonna say, let's keep them from talking.
Hold on.
No, for me growing up, even with all of the other iterations, for me, when I think of Robin, it's always Dick Grayson. That's who Robin is for me and has been. And so the other ones, I mean, are just characters that came and had the mantle later and throughout the run. But for me, it was always Dick Grayson.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's like what they do with any type of rebranding of a character. So, it's Miles Morales Spider-Man. It's so it's Tim Drake Robin. It's Jason Todd Robin. When you just say Robin, it's Dick Grayson.
Yep.
Or they just a little bit, because Nightwing is one of my favorite characters of all time.
I was waiting to get to it because
I know, and I don't want to jump the gun, but I'm just.
Oh no, I know. No, it's perfection, and it's something that comics have tried to reproduce and emulate, and they really haven't done a good
Failed.
job. This is one of the most evolved characters in comic books,
Yes.
where he started out as a sidekick role. He began growing up in his own right. In Earth 1, he basically takes the mantle over for Batman, but he doesn't call himself Batman. He still takes the moniker of Robin, but he has more of a Batman like suit. In the main continuity, he becomes Nightwing, and Nightwing is probably one of the most beloved characters, one of the best selling characters in DC Comics, and that's because it all happened organically. It didn't happen, well, we need to spice things up. It was over the course of like 40 years where you really saw him grow into his own. And so you get, I'm not sure. Let's
here's a good image.
Publication history. So I want to say that Dick Grayson I think he's about the same age as Bruce. Oh, let's see. Yeah, perfect. Wonderful. Although I would have liked to see his legs covered in the middle one.
Yeah.
Well, they started doing some zany stuff with his comics, and you can see the first Nightwing outfit is the disco-tastic.
Oh yeah.
But I don't hate it though.
I don't hate it either.
That costume at all.
And also, I feel like if you did like a live action of this and maybe brought the collar down and the chest V up a little bit, but like the bullet rivets going towards the shoulder. Yeah, I think I can totally get away. At least for a prototype,
not too deep.
Yeah,
that could work.
Yeah, no, little less of that turn the beat around, love to hear percussion look, and
staying alive.
And he very, very, very much staying alive. Successfully ditching the cape is something that is, because it really doesn't make, and it made sense. So his Robin cape goes up maybe to like his butt or the small of his back. Because if you were flipping around and doing all the acrobatic things he does, I was like, I feel like the cape would be kind of a detriment in the comic or in any situation. Risk it for the biscuit. Oh, nice. What'd you think? You can tell us in the Scooby Pup, everybody's favorite pup. James. Prophetic. Nightwing had the luxury of having grown up in front of the readers, the longest backstory. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's why he's one of the most endearing, and that's why his evolution is so organic. So he starts out as 8 years old. He's a circus acrobat. His parents are the Flying Graysons. So John and Mary Grayson. They're a young aerialist couple. They're preparing for a performance. In most iterations, there's like a local gangster boss named Tony Zuko, and he does something to sabotage their act, and he gets away before he's captured. Batman kind of takes him under his wing, and they have that wonderful scene where Batman's got Dick swearing by candlelight to okay. He didn't like it. We've all talked about this. James, if you took the third act out, it would be a much better movie. But so he's been around, he's young. So just like Batman, he wants bloody vengeance, but he turns his back on vengeance. Which is funny because we were just talking about the Batman who goes around saying that he is vengeance the entire movie, which he's not. You can argue he doesn't become Batman until I don't know, he fights whatever the 4chan gang that the Riddler
oh, so stupid. I'm right there with you, man. That's not my favorite Batman movie by far.
No, it has its moments. Like I said, it's probably my favorite Batmobile introduction ever, where you're just seeing the engine rev up, and you're, just certain parts they got right. Yeah. But yeah, so they fight crime, like I said, all the way. Is it in the 80s when?
Teen
So
Titans.
yeah, well, he gets into Teen Titans.
Yeah, 80. First appearance in Tales of Teen Titans is number 44, which was July 1984.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, we got Nagrinal.
Nagrinal.
My buddy in the GCA. He's actually going to be one of the expert panelists on the news tomorrow. So definitely jump in for that. And then, yeah, so I was just wondering if that was pre or post crisis when Nightwing begins. So it looks like
I want to say post.
Well, and not a lot of people know this. So he actually got the idea for the name Nightwing because Nightwing was a hero, one of the hero duo on Krypton. It's from a story that Superman told him, and he took that to heart. And obviously, as a young kid, when you're hanging out with people, I think Superman would probably have kind of an impact on you. So, if
maybe a little.
Superman was telling me a story. Yeah. And that's something that we haven't gotten into yet either. So Dick Grayson, especially out of all the other Robins, he is definitely the yin to Bruce's yang, where he's much more lighthearted. He's kind of more of a Spider-Man character where he's cracking jokes. He brings levity to like a very serious character, and that's why a lot of people don't like Robin and like to see Batman on his own, is because they like that gothic seriousness that Batman can have. But this was supposed to, the idea was to make Batman a little bit more approachable to child readers, and the best way to do that is to have a kid get thrown in there. But yeah,
he was kind of it was kind of so you would have that one character that you're kind of seeing the story through was Robin in a lot of ways. And
what's the way
that's
to
who you were
describe
to identify with. Kind of like C-3PO is in Star Wars, or some other characters that are like that.
Right, when you get Sherlock, it's Dr. Watson.
Right.
Yeah, because one, you can't fathom when someone says like this character is a genius. You can't go, well, I'll just turn my genius button on and look through the eyes of a genius. Like you have to look at someone else describing the situation. That's very much initially what Dick Grayson was. He evolved into so much more, and he really got his I think it was Brave and the Bold. That's in like the mid 60s when the Teen Titans really got their start. And obviously the new Teen Titans in the 80s, that's really when it formed up. But they put him in the leader.
Wrong. The first appearance of him in Teen Titans, the 1984, is actually him as Nightwing.
Oh, okay, that makes sense, because I think it was.
Now I remember reading. I remember reading Around the Bold and the Brave. There's a few stories where Batman's talking about how Dick was out with the Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So, the original Teen Titans were like Aqualad, Kid Flash, and Speedy and Wonder Girl, and so they became the Teen Titans. The new Teen Titans is probably the one that we recognize the most. It's probably the one that got the most shine. That's Marv Wolfman and George Perez just doing like excellent work. That's where we're seeing Raven, Beast Boy, who at the time was called Changeling, Starfire. So that's what. But who's leading that group? but Dick Grayson, and which says a lot. He's the only one on there. Well, I guess Speedy doesn't have superpowers, but I mean, Speedy eventually becomes Arsenal, and that's.
And I got to just say that Titans run, that is my favorite storytelling with this version of Robin, and it doesn't even have Batman really in it.
No, that's when you really have like Deathstroke coming into his own.
Yes.
And,
oh man, you got the Judas contract.
Oh, the Judas. Yeah. So good. They've tried to tell it so many times, and it just never works because
they've come really close on a few animations, but yeah, they haven't stuck the landing on any of them. Not completely.
Yeah. Remember to bat and back share the video. You're right. I don't have my aggressive banner on there. There you are. Thank you so much.
Not too aggressive. That's not really that aggressive.
Oh, well, hold on. We can make it more aggressive. Nothing makes it more aggressive than a bunch of
caps
right now.
There you go.
Nothing like a bunch of exclamation point. There you go. What do you think, guys? Thumbs up? Aggressive enough? Yeah. So he starts to, and another thing that we don't talk about, why he's in the Teen Titans, Dick Grayson goes to college. So that would be another natural reason why he's starting to get away from his mentor is, he's finding himself at university, and, he's, getting a little action either from Starfire or Barbara Gordon, or, like he's building relationships. He's becoming his own man. And you see all of this in the course of like a 20-year period, rather than, we just like aged him up. So, it's the same thing with Wally West. When Wally West became the Flash, he became the Flash because Barry Allen dies in Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's not like, you should just be the Flash now, or well, now they've managed to do it. What they do in the Spider-Man comics, where Peter Parker is going to Miles Morales, going, "You are now also Spider-Man," and everyone's like, "Okay." But they've managed to do that to Wally West, where he's like, "I guess you're just Flash too, because I came back from the dead, and I'm just not going to call myself something different." I mean.
We could do a
that
whole
would have been fine with Wally if he
Flash.
just called himself something else.
Yeah, because that was one of the best main hero deaths in comic book history, and to go back on that was,
yeah. That and Jason Todd. See, I could see how they brought Hal Jordan back, because Hal Jordan, it was less impactful. One, because of everything that was going on, and with like Blackest Night and the Jeff Johns run, he did a really good job of retconning the continuity. But you can get away with it because Green Lantern's a core. So at any given time, there was like 3 Green Lanterns running around. There was only one Flash.
Yeah. Green Lantern, it's completely different because there's it's a title. They're part of a group of the Green Lantern Corps.
Yes.
Almost from inception, that's the whole point of the Green Lanterns, is a core. It's not an individual character.
But to go into this whole mantle passing BS that they're doing, and it doesn't work with Spider-Man, doesn't work with Captain America. It's a gimmick. It's a thing they do in the comic books to stir up some controversy, get some readers, and it always goes back to the main character. Who is that character? With Robin, it's the only time it's actually worked and worked well.
Well, and that was another thing too. So in Nightfall, when Batman gets his back broken by Bane, they didn't do it. They gave it to John Paul Valley, and then you saw what happens when someone who doesn't have the training or the self-control that Bruce Wayne instilled upon Dick Grayson, like kind of gets that mantle. Now, granted, John Pavelli also had like a bunch of like programming from like this weird cult, and so like it kind of went off the rails. But you see what happens when someone takes up that mantle. It was very hard for him to handle, and it goes off the rails. People were angry about that, but I feel like that did good. So when Bruce Wayne disappears after getting hit by Darkseid's Omega Beams in Final Crisis, and he gets time displaced, that's when Dick Grayson is now basically having Damian Wayne run around as his Robin.
Yep. I love that run.
That's a wonderful run.
I loved that.
But it also feels earned because after all this, so you saw that what happened if someone else just says, well, I'm going to be Batman. And it was like, well, no, you can't. There's very few people who can.
And it was well written because Dick didn't want it at all.
Rachel, I'm glad that you said this. Okay, so yes, originally Bruce is technically the first Robin. If you want to go down that route, then Thomas Wayne is technically the first Batman because Thomas Wayne was at a costume party and he had a bat suit, and a lot of the early lore on Bruce really doesn't get nailed down until Batman Year One, which is like in the mid 80s. So, they're kind of willy-nilly on that. But yes, you are technically correct. I'm glad someone brought that up. Kudos to you. Yes. I can't remember. It was one of those throwaway issues where I can't remember. Bruce sees something and he dresses up, and it happens to be very a Robin-esque costume, and it's very contrived. But whatever, it's fun. Anything in the Silver Age gets a pass because they're running under incredible limitations set by the Comics Code of Authority. Everything is all spacey and weird. That's, but I'm glad someone mentioned it. So he also I think gets a huge bump. Dick Grayson gets a huge bump, as Nightwing, because he doesn't stay in Gotham. He goes to Bloodhaven, which is I know it's right by Gotham. I don't know what a good example would be. It'd be like the Palisades of Gotham, right? Like it's still, I guess,
port city, basically.
Okay.
Like that's where everything that comes into Gotham goes through Bloodhaven.
Yeah.
Oh, the disc-going suit? Yeah, we got into it a little bit. So actually, yeah, if you just want to keep sharing that picture that you had Drunken, that would be, because there's so much to get to with this. But we were at, so
do you want the full disco or did the same one that I was just sharing?
Yeah, the same one, because it just shows all of it, and it's really probably the best representation of what we're going to be talking about.
There you go.
There we are. All right. I mean, so yeah, full disco.
Yeah, of course we know why you like this image. I mean, you brought it up earlier as the middle Robin's legs. So let's move on.
Yep. They have to. Well, no, because his costume evolves in the 70s, so he has more of a tactical suit more than this acrobatic suit. But I mean, it's still a good representation of what we're talking about. So, child Dick Grayson is this bombastic, always quick with a quip. I think. If they're doing a live adaptation and they're really going to get Robin right, he should say something, and Batman should be like trying not to smile, or just go full Silver Age where Batman's the whole time, But yeah, and so when he's when his parents are killed, he's brought into Wayne Manor. unlike all the other Robins, he's brought in right away. So like Tim Drake figured out that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Like he kind of basically blackmailed his way into the role. Jason Todd is, boy, are we gonna get a lot when we get into him, because
that's Batman's version of I Can Fix Her.
Yeah, but there's pre-crisis Jason and then there's post-crisis Jason, and like pre-crisis Jason is essentially Dick Grayson with red hair. Like I'm pretty sure that his parents were acrobats too, so they were, and then eventually, you know, he dyes his hair to keep the continuity, and then all of a sudden you have post-crisis where they're like, no, he's I Can Fix Her. But they didn't know how to fill that void when Dick left, and as a matter of fact, it affected Batman in the comics because Dick left. But it would make the most. Batman has empty nest syndrome when Dick Grayson leaves, and it's weird, and that's an ongoing thing between these two characters, where it's like the father and son trope, where like the father just won't tell the son that he loves him. That's very much what it is. But you know, and Dick is also, as much as he wants to hear it, he knows. You know, he's and it makes sense between these characters, because like, you know, Batman is quite the stoic, which always leads to a bunch of fun shenanigans in the Justice League Watchtower, because you'll see characters like joking around a little bit, and then Batman's there as the straight man or the foil of the joke. And then you have this character who is lighthearted, and actually he is the true embodiment of when they change Batman up. And as much as I love Frank Miller, there's an aspect of Batman that kind of faded away, especially like once they got into the Bronze Age and they wanted to take Batman back to his serious roots, where there was an adventure type aspect to Batman, where it wasn't like it's a calling and I made a solemn vow. There is a Batman that swings around and going like, you know what, as much as like I'm angry that someone killed my parents, like I'm also having a really good time swinging from rooftop to rooftop. And Dick Grayson never lost that, where, you know, it was like it's not out of the ordinary to see him flipping around with a smile on his face, because let's face it, we would all do it if we could. Like, you know, I've never see a clip of like Dick Grayson doing like a triple backflip from one building to another and go, shit, why didn't I think of that? I can't do that. You know, it was like he can do that because he's incredible. You know, he's definitely one of my favorite characters. Let's see. Jason Todd based in Red Belt after Joker. Let's see.
DC actually retconned that Jason and Tim. Oh, they're the night.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I hate that.
No. And Rachel coming in with some factolas, loving it. We can get there. This is more Girl Wonder than Boy Wonder. We can talk about Stephanie as Robin. Stephanie is, so we're doing all the main Robins, and then any like subsequent or people who've had the role for a short time, Stephanie being one of them. Like they're gonna get like an auxiliary. Yeah, that's all gonna be one episode. Although Stephanie is a awesome character in her own right, so she might have to get more because I mean she's had a bunch of different characters. She isn't just Robin, but. And also, if I'm not mistaken, she had training by Lady Shiva, so she's no slouch. Let's see. Well, when father and son are going after the same gal, Babs, no wonder Dick Grayson peaced out. Yeah, I don't like it when Batman goes after Batgirl. I don't like that at all. I was really upset with the Killing Joke adaptation where they kind of put that in there.
Man.
Very much unneeded
in the theater. Not expected to see that at all when I first saw it, man.
Yeah, that was very much WTF is happening. So I think covered most of the iterations. I mean, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about I mean, we've talked about Nightwing enough. I mean, do you guys want to talk about Dick Grayson as his role as Batman? Because I found that to be very interesting on his run as Batman, because he go ahead.
One of the things you said that stuck out and kind of made me think of this was how Batman was the stoic one, and Bruce was the stoic one, and Dick was the one bringing the quips and the kind of the jokes, and then Batman would give him the look, and they kept that, but they flipped it around, which was really brilliant in that Dick and Damian run, where he was still absolutely. Dick. And now you got fucking little turd Robin sitting there, be like, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah. You like, will you stop being such a fucking tryhard for a second?
Right.
But you have this like 11-year-old kid who's bringing like the seriousness of Bruce Wayne Batman, because he's raised by Ra's Talia Al Ghul. So that was another cool thing about the dynamic between Bruce Wayne and Damian Wayne, where you're like, oh my God, is this how I've been carrying myself?
Right.
Where there's one part where Bruce Wayne actually like kind of pushes him aside and goes, it doesn't say like, you've made me disappointed as your father. He goes, you have dishonored your sensei. Like that's what a father is saying to his son, because like that's going to register with him more than
right.
Let's see, when we get there is. Oh, well, we already got that. What did she say this time? You know, a lot of Nightwings talk to on message boards think that Dick's Batman thing shouldn't have been reversed. Well, you do see aspects of it, and that's something that I wanted to get into, where there's moments where Dick Grayson kind of like shines through, and then he remembers that he's in the Bat mantle, and he has to kind of like pull it back. And I enjoy that inner turmoil where he's going, well, this is what I was raised to do. When I was Nightwing, I'm my own thing, but Batman is a symbol, and I have to abide by that symbol. Yeah, so you know, he understands.
It truly is the mantle, and having to fit the mold of what the mantle is. He can't be truly himself. He's got to fulfill that mantle the way it's supposed to be. And even so, when he breaks that mantle with jokes and clips, it's kind of bringing it back. Go, whoa! This is not Batman. I'm a symbol. I'm supposed to stay to a certain format when I am in this uniform. I am not Nightwing. I am not Robin. I am Batman.
When he went,
well, and
Batman,
I believe Gordon recognizes it. So he's talking, and he's like, "Oh, so Batman is gone." Like he realizes that is Dick Grayson being, you know, that's someone who watched Dick grow up as well. Would be Commissioner Gordon, and he's talking to Dick Grayson Batman, and he's like, oh, he's gone. Like this is a real thing. But also we talk about this, you know, we have those gotcha fake comic book fans who always be like, it's a mantle, it doesn't, you know, they tried to say it when we had Lady Thor, where it was like, it's a mantle. It was like, no, Thor Odinson is his name. You know, we say this all the time. Spider-Man's Peter Parker, Batman is Bruce Wayne. But in this, it made sense because he is trying to give respect to the mantle and you know, and what it means. So it's organic and it feels right. So, you know, there are a bunch of people who complain about it. There's a bunch of people who complain about everything. Let's see. As cringe as it was, they followed up on it with Batman Beyond. Barbara and Bruce had a conversation that confirms a past relationship. Yeah, but that's in the Bruce Tim verse. And
they really leaned into that Bruce and Barbara stuff and the Bruce Tim stuff.
Yeah, and you know, and they continued it. They tried to do it in the comics. I was kind of upset when they brought Batman Beyond into regular DC continuity, because like it does make everything kind of murky as far as where like Tim Drake and Damian Wayne like fall in. And then all of a sudden Terry McGinnis, but you know, I guess you can argue that it's far enough in the future, but like how long is Bruce's longevity? Which, don't get me wrong, you know, I'm sure he's not lacking in healthcare, but he's also putting his body through like a bunch of abuse. So I don't see him really living into his 90s or like 100s and being that spry of a character. Regardless, we're getting sidetracked. I enjoy seeing Dick as Batman, but only for like a limited role. Like you said, they always come back. Yeah, if you get
that's the thing. While I liked it, I knew it wasn't going to be permanent, and that was 100%.
It couldn't be. Well, they also had the return of Bruce Wayne storyline going simultaneously, where you realize that Bruce isn't dead; he's time displaced. So that's where you get like Man of Bats, like Pirate Batman, God, Cowboy Batman. You know,
and that in itself is where the problem is when you talk about mantle passing and stuff like that. Is when they get rid of the character with no intention to bring them back for that new character just to completely subsede the previous character.
Like I said, we talked about it. It only works in Green Lantern because that didn't mean that Kyle Rayner had to stop being Green Lantern. He was just another Green Lantern. You know, there's plenty of room for Jessica Cruz, you know, like her or hate her. I don't mind her, but there's plenty of room in Green Lantern. Although I'm thinking sector, what is it, 2614 is getting a little crowded because like it started out there was like one lantern for one sector. It was like we got like 5 or 6 now. But also, you know, that sector is proven to be quite troublesome and pretty important. They at least acknowledge that. But it didn't work with the Flash, even though it totally worked to have Wally become the Flash. When you just bring Barry Allen back, and then he's like, "Well, I guess I'm just gonna modify my costume, but like you can still call me the Flash." Unfortunately, it doesn't work. They didn't know what to do it, and then God, you get into the New 52, where now you have another version of Wally West running around, and then you know in Rebirth you have the original Wally West going like, "Does anybody remember me?" And you know, but you know, fortunately they never did that to Dick Grayson, and they couldn't because he's been around too long, and you know, even when he stops being Batman, he goes right back to being Nightwing.
Nightwing.
They made it very apparent that Dick Grayson didn't like being Batman. You know, it was, he understood that it was important, but it was more like a chore to him. You know, it was almost like a family run company where it was like, oh well, my dad did it. I went to school for it, but you know,
I want to do my own thing.
I really want to play music and.
But
Batman's all rock and roll, but I want to be disco.
Yeah, no.
Man.
So I think we got into like the gist of it. There's I do like Dick Grayson's New 52 Robin costume, but it looks a lot more like Tim Drake's, which I think Tim Drake had the best Robin costume. Even though it was still very much brightly colored, they at least like gave him a darker cape. They put the yellow on the inside. He had the padding on the shoulders. Yeah, it looked like it was a battle hardened suit. But do we have what we didn't talk about, and I can't remember if this was in the New 52 or not, when Dick Grayson just stopped being a superhero altogether and just became like a secret agent.
God,
the Grayson comic.
Yeah.
I will admit that I read none of these.
I read the first one, I think, and I hated it. I was like, this is this is not working.
Chuck Dixon's run on Nightwing was pretty cool. Are there any other good ones? I mean, there's a bunch of good runs. I specifically love his run in No Man's Land. I thought his run in No Man's Land was fantastic. I can't remember who wrote that. His run during Bruce Wayne Criminal was really awesome because he's running a bunch of like reconnaissance stuff to try and help Bruce like clear his name there's a bunch of good stuff going on. Any famous Dick Grayson enemies that we should probably obviously the main one that we should probably mention would be Deathstroke. He's far and away, even though they've tried to migrate him into more of the Batman continuity, he's definitely a Dick Grayson Teen Titans villain.
Yep.
What
was Deathstroke more, and this is my little bit of ignorance, was he more Teen Titans first before he became?
Yes, 100%.
100%. Yep. He was the Teen Titans big bad. And that Teen Titans, that was my favorite Dick stories aren't with him, is with Batman. It's Titans and then followed by Nightwing. And dude, that Teen Titans stuff, and you see that character, like he's one of the most well-developed characters, because you see him change from the, like you were saying earlier, Sammy, Bruce, this is how you figured that out. You're seeing, him kind of project that awe and wonder on how great Batman is, and giving the readers that thing to identify with. And then as he starts to mature and they start giving him his own, he starts, the teen angst and realizing, okay, he's got a thing for the ladies and he's good at it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's people who say it was like, oh, Dick Grayson, he's got the best butt in comics. And it was like, oh, because women like Dick Grayson too. Like, like he's that guy, I guess. And apparently we are off on Twitter. So, most of you guys are watching on YouTube anyway, so unfortunately we're down on Twitter, but I can't imagine why that would be. Maybe Twitter's down, but either way, we can just keep on trucking. I mean, he's come across anybody that you can name that Batman has fought. Basically, Dick Grayson has fought. There's no one really, just because they were teamed up for so long, you can't say that this character is primarily just Batman. So, that's another thing that probably makes Nightwing so fun to write for. It was like, he has his own rogues gallery, but you can dip into any bit of the Batman continuity that you want. That makes him extremely versatile and well respected. I mean, his the Eskrima sticks. I can't remember when he started picking those bad boys up, but that's because before, like, he had like the Robin R Batarang. I love the Eskrima sticks. I like even more when they had in the Arkham games, when the Eskrima sticks were now like doubled as like tasers. They're kind of like what the police use in Demolition Man. That's a good look. Let's see if I can.
Actually, I think there's an image of those sticks.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's good eating. And then all right, well, I guess we can get into favorite portrayals of the character, and we can talk about least favorite portrayals. I think we all know how we feel about Chris O'Donnell's character, and
be the worst.
Absolutely. And I mean, what the hell was with giving him the Nightwing costume in Batman and Robin, but still calling him Robin?
Well, he even suggests it where, and that would make sense.
I need a name. Like, it's flying, all this going through, it says Nightwing in there.
Nightwing.
Yeah. And you're like, yes, do that. I mean, it would have worked out if they made a third one. So, like, they made kind of this, they made Dick Grayson in Batman and Robin kind of this, like, angsty, insufferable shit, which you would expect to see from a teenage Robin.
Yeah, not a grown-ass man in his 30s.
A 25-year-old.
Not a mid-aged.
Yeah.
Well, also, you know, I might feel shunned too if I'm a full grown man and he's like, no, you can't have a car. I was like, screw you, man. You're like
fuck
8
you,
years
man.
older than me.
Yeah, I've had my license for like 15 years. What are you
Yeah.
saying?
I drove
voice
here
isn't
on a
even
fucking
track anymore.
motorcycle.
Right?
Like,
I need a car.
No, I care about your safety. Go get on the open, the motorcycle, right?
yeah. Yeah, the less, you know, take this souped up boat. It's yeah, and so any other adaptation that's going to be good is going to be animated. So
Yes.
there oh, actually no, I'll say in the show Titans, at least in the first season, it's fine.
They got some things right with that. The casting was fine. That the dude playing him did fine. He did not do bad, and they did explore in the story that he did start as a kid, not a grown man, not a college student, not even a late high school student. He was a kid when he first started the training and the journey into becoming Robin.
Well, that's something too. They kind of give him a bit of a chip on his shoulder. Like, I was a kid, I didn't have a choice. He just threw me in there. It was like, no,
And
he
that's
gave
where
you
they
the
fucked
choice.
up.
I remember seeing that show, and like the first line in the show, he's like, "Fuck Batman." I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah. That kind of goes in the
Maybe.
same
Don't get me
line.
wrong, that show is complete garbage. But
Yeah.
there were
But
a few little things.
That's almost in the same vein as with Blue Beetle when they're like, Batman was a fascist.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dude, even as in the most angry written versions of the character in the comics, that's not something that would happen.
right.
Yeah. No, see, it could have been done fine. So Joker's arguing that he likes that. That would have been fine in a certain aspect of it, but he was only like that for a little bit. That's when he was like coming into his own, and I guess that's where they're showing it. You know, he gets the Nightwing suit, and you know he's trying to get away from that. They made the problem of starting him out in the Robin suit. You could have just started him in the Nightwing suit, and that would have been fine. Because I mean that Robin suit in the Titan series gets around. I like how they did the Nightwing suit in that series. I like the guy who played Jorah, kind of like as this. He kind of goes back to more like the Adam West version of Bruce Wayne, where he's like wearing the ascot and shit. And
even did the dance during the hallucination scene.
Oh yeah. You know, that wasn't bad casting there. It was just too much. There was one episode they did that was like in season 3 that was really, really well done with Superboy, where he's using his super speed, like trying to learn how to like disarm a bomb. Like they were starting. It was like they kind of understood the assignment, but they never got there.
No.
But I don't like. It's the same way I don't like Zack Snyder's portrayal or New 52's portrayal of Superman, where I don't like an angsty Superman. I don't like an angsty Dick Grayson either. I like that.
That wasn't him.
No.
Right.
This was.
You want to do that with Jason Todd? Fine. But
absolutely,
not Dick Grayson.
No, not Dick Grayson. Oh, and then we got Nads. Hello, Nadia.
Hey.
Thanks for stopping in,
fellow local.
But we have there's certain things that pass just fine, and you can have iterations where Nightwing or even Dick Gray or even Robin disagreeing with Batman, but like there's a love and a camaraderie there. Like you know, he doesn't hate Batman. It was like a spat between like father and son, where it was like, well, you should go to school and study business, and he was like, no, I want to study whatever word origins, or you know, it was like, I'm doing my own thing.
Dance.
No, see, I don't want to go that far because he still wants to fight crime. It's still he still wants a useful degree. It's just not a degree that his father saw for him. Same thing too. You know, Alfred should, you know, and they should disagree, and Alfred should always be there going like, hey, you know, he's kind of like the grandpa. He becomes the grandpa in that, where it's like, hey, you know, when Bruce was a kid, see, I didn't even have to say it. Nadia, right there. Nightwing got that peach. Women love Nightwing's ass. That's just, it is what it is. You know, why a lot of guys like Power Girl. They got that boob window. But yeah, you know, there are certain things that should always happen when Nightwing and Batman disagree, and one of those things is Alfred should step in and kind of just be like the grandfatherly role. And then, you know, if Jason Todd gets out of line, or any of the subsequent Robins, Nightwing is the older brother. There's aspects and dynamics in the Batman family that Dick Grayson embodies, and you know that, you know, him being the first one mentored by Batman to kind of go in his adult role, it's important in the DC mythos now, and you know, it's well respected. People love it. So we can say that Titans kind of got it right. I'd be remiss if we don't mention his two main you know, dating. That'd be Coriander, Starfire, and Barbara Gordon. Those are two. Although they try to make it more in different iterations. Barbara Gordon is always showing up, like either like if she isn't flirting with Batman, she's dating a Robin. I don't always like that. Let's see, what are some good iterations.
Barbara Gordon needs to branch out and get away from the Bat family a little bit.
I agree. I can't wait to get to her, because she's such a solid character. Whether you put her in the chair or take her out,
yep,
you know, she is. So I'd say probably besides. I'd say I like my favorite portrayal of Dick Grayson is probably in Young Justice, or in Batman.
You stole mine, dude.
Oh, yep.
Young freaking Justice season 1.
Well, dude, they even got it right when he becomes Nightwing. You know, like, you know, in those later episodes, that was pretty good. Batman the Animated Series does it. They get more of kind of college age Dick Grayson, which is fine. The Scarecrow episode is done really well. Where
but one of the
where
things
the acrobat gets
the series too. That's one where we know that Batman, that world had existed long before we came into it. So we got flashbacks. We knew that Robin had been Robin for a long time. In fact, by the time he's introduced in the show, he's kind of he's already started college, and he's only Robining part-time by that point.
Yeah, which is fine. That's a wonderful way to do it. You could do that in the movies.
Oh yeah.
All you need is like a flashback where you know, Robin, you know, hops out and says, "Hey, are we going to do this?" And Batman's like, "I said wait in the car." And that's it. That's all you need. That establishes that he's been doing it for a long time, and that establishes they have a relationship, and that established that Robin was out there fighting crime as a kid. You don't have to get into the nitty-gritty of it, because we agreed. I probably the only comic book movie to ever get it right to have a child doing all this stuff was probably Kick-Ass with Hit Girl. And like, you know, now granted, I don't want to compare that to Dick Grayson's Robin, where, you know, he's got like a filthy mouth and he's swearing her out, but a little kid kicking ass, that's as good as you're gonna get. And you know, they had to keep that, I wouldn't say grounded and real, but it was an interesting take on like the superhero genre, especially when we were getting a bunch of those where we had like a million. Well, what if Superman was bad? And it was like, oh, well, we got like 50 shows like that. But yeah, so his Dick Grayson, great. Even in the Batman the series, he's fine. It's really he's a lot easier to get to in animation. Under the Red Hood is fantastic. The way that they do it, especially when they show how Dick Grayson's Robin was in juxtaposition with Jason Todd, where like they show him flipping around with a smile on his face, and then they show like Jason Todd, and you're just like, you broke his collarbone, you sent him into shock. We had information we could have gotten from him, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I should have put pillows down." And he's like, "Why are you so goddamn angry? It's so annoying. I hope the audience votes to kill you."
Man, and dude, Neil Patrick Harris doing the voice of Nightwing, and that was great. He nailed it. But thanks for saving my bacon, Batman.
Okay, another good one. The original Teen Titans, not Teen Titans Go. He was good in that too. That was I loved the design with like the steel toe boots. Yeah. Although I feel like it'd be really hard to do like feats of acrobatics when you have like these weighted shoes, but maybe that ensures you always land on your feet.
Go has its target audience, and that's fine for what it is. And I don't hate it. In fact, I really like the movie, especially. And Teen Titans is kind of the same way. It wasn't what I wanted reading the comics, but I grew to really enjoy it, and they did nail his character really well.
Oh yeah, that's another great one. If you haven't seen that,
Bad Blood's great.
I own most of like the heyday DC animated stuff because it was so good. They were just cranking out so many excellent just adaptations of these. Another thing with Teen Titans Go, I attribute that a lot to like Superhero Squad, where like you realize it was meant for kids, but like if you were watching it with a young kid, they threw enough things in there and enough references for like the adult comic appreciators to go like, there it is. That's sweet. Okay. It's not something that I would like watch on my own, but like if it was on, like my nephew was watching it, I'd be like, all right, sweet. This is fine. There are some things where you get some genuine chuckles, especially when they start getting into like just like Batman references or other movie references. They got it. Let's see. So before Tim Burton got his hands on the Batman franchise, what they wanted to do was another campy version like Batman 66, and they wanted Bill Murray to play Batman. They wanted Eddie Murphy to play Robin. If you're playing it campy, that would have been awesome. I would love to see in a parallel universe if that movie got made, but I'm glad that we got Tim Burton's Batman. I think they moving forward, they were going to make him in Tim Burton's like original idea. They wanted what is it? Marlon Wayne or one of the Wayans brothers. That would have been fine. I don't like what they were going to do with it, where it was just kind of like this orphan who worked at an auto shop. Whatever.
Call him Robin, but make it an original character version. Give
it is one of the first iterations where they give Robin the hood. I saw like designs for things like that. That's cool. Like I read the '89 comic. It ends up being, like, oh, we got to save this block in Harlem because this evil guy's gonna take over. And it was like we've seen that story like a million times. It wasn't a very interesting. I don't mind the casting though. Dick Grayson, I don't care if you cast him as a black person. It is what it is. This is how movies are cast these days. They love having that dynamic of like the older white guy like teaching the black kid, or it's like they always have that reversal. If there's ever like a black guy showing someone how to do something, they have to have that montage where he's teaching them how to dance for like a second, and like it gets
it's Webster. It's Batman Webster. I mean,
See,
No, but
I mean,
I'm saying I don't think his character would inherently fall from that. So like if you had kind of if we're going like early 90s, if you had like a Will Smith character, Fresh Prince playing a Dick Grayson type character, and then a serious Batman, that wouldn't have been like the end of the world to me. If he's jumping around and they still have, because what's the thing that they did is they cast a comedian. You should cast a comedian to play Dick Grayson. Like there should be some lighthearted levity. Like I wouldn't have hated that.
Instead, we got Chris O'Donnell for a live action.
So O'Donnell, like I said, the Kung Fu Laundry will forever be in infamy. The only saving grace is in Batman and Robin. They had Alicia Silverstein doing worse acting than Chris O'Donnell.
Yeah, right.
Although my favorite, when they try to show that Alfred is sick, they show him like answer the door, and then he like goes behind like a wall for a second and goes. And it's like, oh no,
he's got indigestion.
McGregor syndrome.
Well, I will say, when it comes to the live action, they could have, with Chris O'Donnell, they could have done flashback. They could have maybe had Two-Face been involved if they were really going to make it so that he killed the Flying Graysons. They could have done it and handled it so much better. And when essentially get to the point where it's the breaking between Batman and Robin at that point, then when he goes off and he comes back, now he's in the Nightwing and he teams up with Batman as Nightwing. For the final scene.
It's funny, like we keep talking about like Batman Forever and all this. So in The Dark Knight Rises, there's Joseph Gordon-Levitt who kind of plays Robin. We find out because his middle name is Robin. Which, by the way, like someone would say, like, oh, you should go by your middle name. I've never had someone say like, oh, you should go by your middle name. It was like, especially if it was a name like that, like, oh, your name's like Tony or whatever his name was in the thing. Like Tony's fine. Like, if you had like a crazy like Russian name and your middle name was Robin, they'd be like, you should probably go by Robin or Rob.
It's easier to pronounce.
Yeah, 100. But there it was just like, oh, Mike, you should go by Robin. And
no, I
like it didn't. But in juxtaposition, so around that time there was a show called Third Rock from the Sun, and that actually had Joseph Gordon-Levitt around, and that's around the time that Batman Forever came out. If Joseph Gordon-Levitt that age played Robin, that would have been good casting.
Oh yeah,
because he had the comedy chops to do it. He had the right build for it. Like, missed opportunity there. I don't think he had just
he was at that right age, and you're right. He had that right amount of athleticism. They could have choreographed it kind of like they did in Kick-Ass to make it look like, okay, this kid's formidable and knows how to he can take out a few grown men surprisingly, but well.
Yeah, and another thing too is his character in that show was. He was playing the oldest member of the crew, but somehow when the aliens took like human bodies, he got stuck in the child's body. It takes a certain amount of acting chops to pull that off and make that believable. He would have been totally fine for the role. Leonardo DiCaprio might have been the right age at the time, but he's too serious. He couldn't do it. I'm trying to think of anyone else.
I was going to say, with DiCaprio, maybe of Tim Drake with the more serious.
He actually, a young DiCaprio would be a good one. Like I said, everybody throws his name out, but when he was younger, that Timothy Chalamet would have made a great Tim Drake. Although he's a little pixie boy. He doesn't really have the build for that. He's like one of the 5 people. Like he's the only 5 people in Hollywood now. Or it was like, who do you want to see? Oh, The Rock, Timothy Chalamet, the girl who looks like a potato in The Last of Us, and Zendaya and Zendaya's boyfriend who plays Spider-Man. Tom Holland. They're like, oh, wouldn't you want to see Tom Holland as Robin? Was like, no, he's like in his mid-20s. You can't. He's still again. He works as Spider-Man because he has that fair build. You know, but like Nightwing is rough, buff, and tough, dude. Like he's got a, you know, he's got to be built like a wide receiver or you know or like a basketball star, you know, like someone. You have to believe that he can flip around.
Exactly, and if they're going to cast a young Robin, they need to cast an actor that you can already kind of tell as they grow up and mature, they're going to pull off growing up into being Nightwing.
Yeah, you need to cast kind of like a young, I wouldn't say like a stringy kid, and then you need to put him on like a protein diet until he turns 20, and then you make him Nightwing.
Well, because if they did it right in live action and actually showed the portrayal of Dick growing up, they could have then spun off and had another actual live action Nightwing movie.
Yeah.
my buddy's got 3 kids. He just texted me. I don't know if you guys can read. You guys can't read it, but it said. By the way,
nice
that background. I can't tell you how many times I rented Return of the Joker on NES because of that cover art, and then I was like, "Oh yes, the shitty Batman game." That Nintendo had, not the Sunsoft one, but he just texted me. He goes, "The Lego Batman movie is actually a lot of fun," and it was like, "Okay, well that movie came out 4 years ago, but I'm glad you enjoyed it." No, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, there's again, it's definitely a different adaptation of Batman, but they had something in there for everybody. Yeah, I'm trying to think modern day casting. I don't know who I would pick. One, I don't have intimate knowledge of like child actors.
No. Yeah, I mean, all I can think is like the Stranger Thing kids and the It kids, but they're all grown up now.
Exactly. You know those movies came out, you know, almost 8 years ago. I mean, they're now past that threshold. And also, like, I never want to like auction anybody up to be like a child actor because like it never ends well.
I got it. If we're going back in time to when, if they did the script right with Val Kilmer and him taking over, and they needed somebody age appropriate to be his Robin that could then carry a Nightwing franchise into the future, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay. Yeah.
I can see that.
I can see that. I still like my Joseph Gordon-Levitt. You know, for that
one's
age.
Good too. That would, either one of them would that would be my picks. If you're going back to that time frame to be still being able to carry the character current day, either one of them could have done it.
Yeah. You could have did Matt Damon. Like when you're thinking about like Good Will Hunting or anything, you would still have to do older Dick Grayson, you know, but I don't know.
I get really Matt Damon.
He's never been able to sell me as an action star. I liked the Bourne series, but it's like I'm just watching Matt Damon pretend to do cool things. It's like,
so that line, like,
your buddy
holy
Ben
shit, that's Jason Bourne. That's because everyone is surprised. Everyone is surprised that Jason Bourne was like, oh, I thought he was just a pencil pusher. I thought he was a wicked smart accountant.
How do you like them apples?
Yeah. I caught the Joker. How do you like them apples? Yeah, my fat counterpart, Matt Damon. Fat Damon, right here.
Oh, you want to know what? I mean, that would have just ruined. I mean, and not that Zack Snyder's, I think, stuff was that great. What would have ruined it is if you had Batman as Bruce Wayne being played by Ben Affleck, and then they brought in Nightwing played by Matt Damon.
Which is crazy because Matt Damon's the older one.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I don't know. There
was a name being tossed around just a few years ago, back when Walking Dead was in its heyday, and I didn't hate the idea. Now, you mentioned that they could cast Dick, an African American could have played Dick. I want it to look like what it's supposed to look like. There's nothing wrong with that statement. But I didn't quite hate this. It was Stephen Yen. He played Glenn.
Okay, yeah,
because
like I said, he got the right amount of chops. I mean, he voices Invincible. He's obviously got the right voice for it. Yeah, I'm not gonna argue. There's different ones. I do like Batfleck's portrayal. I just like everything else in the Snyderverse, he's just misutilized. But there were so many like glints of things there, and I also liked. We talked about this before. I like the voice modulator. I think it opens up the actor to act more. Like, I thought that was like a huge detriment to Christian Bale, where he decided, and hats off to him for actually trying to make a Bat voice, because it is something in the comics. And he speaks that. Yeah, where are the other drugs going? But and there's other there's times there's an Elseworlds comic I was reading the other day where what's his name? It was John Byrne's Generations, and Bruce Wayne's getting older, and Dick Grayson was basically telling him, like, hey man, like, I got the Bat voice down, like I'm the right age, like I could take over and no one would notice. I can do it. And they show him talking in the Bat voice, and his voice bubble has like a little Batman insignia around it. So like I was like, it is a thing. So and that's by design, because it is supposed to be a mantle. So, like, one of the things that you would have to do to learn to be Batman is talk in the Bat voice. So there is a specific voice. I just don't think it's Christian Bale's. Where his list.
That's the only thing I don't like about his portrayal as Batman is the Bat voice, and that, I'm sure
they could have. Yeah, that would have been very. Yeah, it would have been very beneficial if he just had a voice modulator. And that
they gave him the most gadgets.
Yeah,
they made everything work in the real world, but they didn't think to do that. That just it blows my mind. Like, the cape serves a purpose, the belt serves, everything served a purpose now in such a specific way.
And he was the first Batman where he was like, I want to scare people. Well, it was like, what a great tactic would be is to give yourself an ungodly, unhuman like voice. And a voice modulator will help you do that. Watch any movie where someone gets kidnapped and they call the police
and there could have been so many great scenes too, like when he's finally taking out Bane, where he could have just turned it off and just talked normal.
Yeah,
just said, "This is me kicking your ass right now."
Oh, and obviously, Joker has a great thing. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Andrea Romano, who did most of the voice casting for all of Bruce Timm's animated universe. And I don't think there's a voice that she picked that I would change. And most of the voices she picked, when I read a comic book, I read it in the voices that she cast. I read when Batman talks, I read it in Kevin Conroy's voice. When the Joker talks, I read it in Mark Hamill's voice. Yeah, I know. It's such a bummer that he turned out to be. He's not the only celebrity. Tara Strong, wonderful. Whoever did the voice for Two-Face, whenever he says bats, I was like, oh yeah, that's fantastic.
Two-Face, that's God. From Highlander, and he's the voice of the Krabby Patty guy. I don't really watch. Clancy Brown.
Clancy. Oh, that is Clancy Brown, isn't it?
Yeah.
Clancy Brown is
fantastic.
But he's very underrated with what he's brought to animation as well. It was like same thing with him and who's I just talking about the other day is what's his name? He's in The Thing. He's in They Live. Oh yeah, Keith David. Keith David walks around. Yeah, Spawn. Absolutely.
And Goliath.
It was like Keith David wakes up every morning and he looks in the mirror and he says, "God damn, I'm so glad to be Keith David."
Right.
It was like he did those Navy commercials.
Keith
If
David's
anybody
a
wrote a
fucking
book
treasure.
about your life, would somebody want to read it? And you're like, I don't know, Keith David. But yeah, I think we understood the assignment today. It's by far the strongest, most well-beloved character as Robin. You know, even though
the
like,
most
now
standalone
I kind of,
too.
yeah, you know,
He's
like,
his own character. Dick Grayson is
most evolution.
no matter what he is, he's
comic.
great.
He's not a sidekick.
No,
He grew past it long ago. Well-rounded character, unlike a lot of other sidekicks that they're just very not three-dimensional characters, and they definitely just fit the role of the sidekick.
Yeah, they never evolved past a supporting role.
Yes.
No,
Dick
I mean,
Grayson's a leader.
Even as with Jason Todd, who we will be discussing next week when he comes back as Red Hood, he's a secondary character. When you, and I don't get me wrong, I thought it was in poor taste that they brought Jason Todd back. I like what they did when they brought him back. I liked, you know, Under the Red Hood. I thought that was a great storyline. I didn't mind him sticking around. I like kind of like the mental damage that he has and his take on what being a vigilante is. But when they're all in the cave together, I was like, I see Bruce and Dick talking, and then Jason, Tim, and Damien are kind of in the background. They're you know, like I'm
they know
not
their
gonna
place.
yeah, I'm not gonna pick up a Red Hood comic. Like like if it's a great run and I hear that it's a good run, but like if I'm going to the shop and like they got Red Hood on the thing, unless I know that it's a really strong run or anything, like I'm not buying it just to buy it. I will buy a Nightwing comic.
Yeah, Nightwing stands equally next to Batman.
Absolutely,
just almost, like,
and just by like like a fart in the breeze is he just, you know, like Batman is still Batman. You know, I guess it would be the same thing with like Spider-Man and Venom, where like I picked up Venom comics, you know, or it was like I like Spider-Man a little bit more, but Venom was a cool character after like Lethal Protector and all that. You know, to go from like this villain, and they tried doing it with so many other characters now. Unfortunately, they're trying to do it right now with like Harley Quinn, where like they just don't know how to write for her anymore.
No,
where it's like, oh, she's just ruining.
Oh, they've ruined her.
No, they've tried to make her female Deadpool, and like it's not, it doesn't work.
And feminist icon.
Yeah, but kind of like forcibly so, where it was like there was so much more to be said, and we'll get into it if we have we'll probably have to have an episode about Harley Quinn, because like her continuity is bananas, where it was like they just don't know what they want to do with this character. But there was something about when she was this damaged character because of the Joker, it made the Joker that much worse, where she's going out and trying to like either go out on her own or everything, but she just can't get over that mental fixation and that damage. And now there's like this huge emancipation from the Joker with Harley Quinn. And you're like, no, you shouldn't have that. No, there should always be something about that character. Like Jessica Jones would be a good character, like with the Purple Man. You can't get rid of what the Purple Man did to her. Otherwise, like, she's not Jessica Jones. You know, unfortunately, a lot of these characters, their origins are, they start with tragedy, and you know, and the reason that they do is because it makes it relatable. Because now, granted, no purple guy has ever like taken advantage of me for 5 years and made me commit crime, but there are people in my life who have manipulated me. There are people in my life who, you know, who have hurt me. There's, you know, it was like you can relate to them in that aspect. When you try to take that away, you know, there are plenty of girls that I chased after who, you know, either tried to use me or whatever. It was like people can relate to that. That's why people liked Harley Quinn, where it was like, oh, you know, she started out as a good person who wanted to help people. She was a psychologist. And then she got so damaged by this particular character. Now she's completely lost her mind because by his design. Now to take him out of that, well, what do you do? It's interesting. So yeah, that'll be an interesting character analysis. Jason Todd, however, who we're covering next week, is going to be all over the place because they have changed his continuity up so much, and that's one of the reasons that Dick Grayson is so
keep up
important,
with.
is because even though he's evolved and everything, he's been so consistent. That's not something. And if you're going to write for Dick Grayson, there's a format. You're gonna you need to understand the character because people know when you're writing a good Nightwing story, and you're not. And we've had examples of both. And that's why he's a beloved character. He's I don't want to call him the prodigal son because he just grew up and left the nest. He was the only one to have a natural progression in all of this. Everybody else is either eventually they didn't know what to do with Tim Drake because they wanted to bring in Damian Wayne. There was, they had him with Spoiler. And
don't get me started on Red Robin.
Oh my God. Which is fine because he's like the middle child.
Suddenly craving a burger. Anyway, bring up Red Robin.
So I think we did it. We can wrap it up. What do you guys got going on for the rest of the day or week?
Yeah, you can start. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Here in about an hour, you can catch me over on Theo Snodgrass' channel, along with Scream Queen Selena, and I believe Drunken Emerald Arrow will be on and off producing and paneling. I'm not sure. That's always a good time. So go sub to Theo's channel on Rumble and YouTube. And then later on this evening, I will be over on Rumble with Third Relify and talking with Sean and Gina, and again with Scream Queen Selena, my wife. And that I don't know what to expect with that, but he says he's got a lot of questions, so I'm a little I got to get mentally prepared for that. We'll see what happens. And every Wednesday and Friday at 5:35 p.m. PST, you can find the weekly and weekend Rogues Gallery. Usually about the same group of guys, and it's a really good time. Goes off the rails, but in the best way possible. And anything else, I may make some appearances here and there throughout the week on other channels. Just follow me on X, and you'll know what's going on.
Sounds good.
Hey, I'm Drunken Emerald Arrow. Let's see. Coming up, we got my producing duties over on Touchgrass with Theo Snodgrass at 11. PST, that is where I produce, and I do jump on screen from time to time, and that's usually to make a rude comment towards Theo or to roast him in some form or fashion, because that's my role as producer, is to bring him back down to earth so his ego doesn't get too big. Then on Tuesdays, I have Nerds Covering the News at 5:30 PST over on my channel, and then Weekly Rogues Gallery on Wednesday at 5:35, and then Fridays I do sometimes be there at the beginning with Weekends Rogues Gallery. Then I'm over with the Gina and Sean show on Friday that then leads into insert title here at 9:30 PST over on my channel. The show that does not understand what a topic is, does not understand what staying on topic is, and just is a major dumpster fire that everyone enjoys and everyone has fun with. Because you know what? It is what it is, and we love it, and it's been great. Very major change from way that show originally started out. And then back here next Saturday morning for the next round of Cavecast.
Hell yeah.
All right. I myself, I'm going to be hopping on Theo's show for a little bit here, and then anybody in the Detroit area, my band will be playing the main stage at the Corktown Music Festival for a little bit, around like 10:30. I'm sure I'll have pictures and videos to be streaming at a later point. Other than that, you can catch me on in other news tomorrow. We got Nagrinol on. I gotta message a couple other people, get them to jump on. You boys are more than welcome to hop on if you'd like. But I think we'll probably be discussing Kanye. Other than that, the cycle starts all over next week. I'll be on Tinfoil Haters with Leon every Tuesday. And then Thursday, you can catch me on Roman's channel. And then, yes, we will be back Saturday morning to discuss Jason Todd bright and early on the next episode of Cavecast. So you guys have a great day. Thank you, chat. You're amazing. Twitter, I don't know what your deal is, but it seems like we got the stream back up and running. So we will catch you guys later.
Come on.
Yes, Batman, clad in the somber costume which has struck terror to the heart of many a swaggering denizen of the underworld. Bob? Gun.
Holy CinemaScope! Holy miscast Batman! Holy movie mogul! Holy cliffhangers Batman! Holy suborbit Batman! It's raining down there! Holy history! Holy catastrophes Batman! Holy bullseye Batman! Holy stereo! Listen to this! Holy armadillos! Holy Krypton! Holy trampoline! Holy fork in the road! Holy Titanic Batman! Holy Houdini! Holy funny bone the Joker! Holy chutzpah! Holy precision! Come on, Worth.
Tomorrow, same that time, same that channel.
The monster who took you from me will soon learn that revenge is a dish best served cold.